you know, get away with like being a heinous person. You know what I mean? Like, I think because a lot of people approach it as like, understandably, a lot of people approach it, especially a lot of black people approach it as like, oh, here we go. Another Caucasian person at it again. And I totally understand why people think this, that who said it. Oh, no, it was. Yeah, this is like, he said, this is like some wokeness word problem that would appear on a standardized test. Like, of course, like there are, don't trust this guy. He's in the pocket of big Tourette's. Yeah, it's like a woke trolley problem where on the one hand, it's like black folks ain't trying to hear this. Okay, calm down. You don't know what I'm about to say? You don't know about what I'm about to say? Bro, it's still Black History Month. This is like an Eric Cartman bit. No, it's just like, I think if you want to blame someone, blame the event organizers who just straight up kept it in. Because stuff like that is on a delay. Stuff like that is on a delay. And they could have just as easily edited that out, you know, and they didn't. And it's insane that they didn't edit that out. I don't understand why they chose not to edit it out. But basically, BAFTA Film Awards host Alan Cumming thanked the audience for the understanding after a series of audible outbursts from Tourette's campaigner John Davidson interrupted the ceremony. John Davidson himself was being recognized as someone who has crippling Tourette's, and as a part of Tourette's, there is a aspect of Tourette's where you like say something that is incredibly inappropriate. And the things that he was saying, he said a bunch of things that were inappropriate, but the most inappropriate thing he did was basically when Michael B. Jordan was on stage, he said the N-word with a hard R. And what's crazier about the story, of course, is that they apparently edited the Free Palestine segment, but they didn't edit this. Like, it blows my freaking mind, dude. How is that possible that you are capable of editing out a speech where someone says Free Palestine, but you can't edit out the N-word? You are out of your dang mind. But in any case, there are a lot of people who are like, oh, no, he was doing it on purpose. Like, he was doing it on purpose. No, I don't think he was doing it on purpose, but it doesn't matter. It's still horrifying to hear that if it's horrifying to hear that when you're a black person in general, but you're also like a professional actor. This is your moment of glory. You're on stage and you just get slung with the dehumanizing slur. Of course, that's like impactful regardless. Like, I don't know why it's like such a difficult thing to comprehend. Yeah, Coprolalia is the specific type of Tourette's where you like say something that is incredibly inappropriate and you have no control over it. And I don't understand like why people think like, no, it's fake. Like, it's not. Like, it's not fake, man. That's kind of the whole thing. That's the entire ordeal, you know? I will say this, not to get into the woke Olympic side of this at all, but I do think there are certain types of slurs that if he were to say, they would have cut it out. If he said something like anti-Jewish, they would have cut that shit out. They cut out Free Palestine. Of course they would have cut out an anti-Jewish slur as well. Like, the fact that black people are just treated like shit in general by even polite society in a moment where they're supposed to be honored is insane, okay? Like, really? You're not going to clean that up? Really? That's crazy. That is actually crazy. There is no world where there is no world where if he had dropped something different that they wouldn't have actually cleaned that shit up. They would have, okay? Pretty sure real sufferers don't switch it up based on who is speaking. Wait, what do you mean? Definitely was a black man walks up and he switches up the words. No, it's literally the maximum worst word. Like, that's the whole point. What? No, you don't know. I don't think you know. I don't think you know how it works. That's not how it works. And there's also, it's funny that there's like discourse happening right now around this stuff, which is discourse around ableism in general, because like this is one of the disabilities that like a lot of people will say is fake. And they'll say you're doing it for attention, which is, again, unironically ableist. Okay, this is actually a very ableist thing. because this is something that you're dealing with for your whole life, and then all of a sudden everyone's like literally wait, what is it? The vocab is in his lingo? No, dude. What you think someone that is at his age has never heard the N-word? Like, what are you talking about? No, this is all made up shit. You're all wrong. That's not how it works. That's not how this works at all. Also, it's funny because there are black people with Tourette's, and they have already spoken about this. Like, I don't understand why you guys are making it seem like this is a white only issue. Like, go listen to a black person with Tourette's. They will tell you the way Tourette's works is exactly like that. It's not like there isn't like the real racism, I think, is coming from the expectations for black actors and black people in general to just like eat it. Okay, the real racism is coming from the systemic racism that BBC didn't choose to take that out of the final editing process. The racism isn't like in the individual there, where it's like a dude with an individual with a pretty significant disability is just out there saying the N-word, and he like did it specifically to like hurt a black person's feelings, and they're doing it for attention, or there's like some other sinister purpose for it. No, the actual racism is the racism at the systemic front, where people just think like, you know, black actors are supposed to eat that shit, and they're supposed to be accommodating to a moment of dehumanization, even if this is a moment of dehumanization that comes at the tail end of like a real disability. So that's what the problem is. What happens if Michael B. Jordan or another person not aware of this guy having a disability confront him on stage for dropping the slur? Would they be given the same clemency with the person with the Tourette's? No. What? Of course not. They would have cooked them. But they're consummate professionals. They just literally ate that shit and moved on, which was crazy. Yeah. It's just like TikTok on the topic. Yeah.
Ignore how I look right now. Critical retention. I am not feeling too great. However, there is something I have been asked to talk about, and that is going to be the BAFTA situation. I have been seeing a bunch of outrage about it, people saying, oh, well, why would that even be in his vocabulary? He did that on purpose and all of this stuff, and that racism is to excuse. Very sad day for the Tourette syndrome community, especially for the ones that have coprolalia, because when you come online and you see thousands of people hating on your condition, specifically coprolalia, because that's something that is already very embarrassing for all of us. Not going to say that people can't be offended by the fact that somebody said the N-word as a tick. However, it's not something that somebody can control. It's not something that somebody wants to say. And I've been seeing a lot of people be like, well, he said it like when the crowd went silent. That is most likely when a tick is going to happen, when you're in public, when you're in complete silence, or when you're trying not to say or do something. We must understand what coprolalia is. Coprolalia causes involuntary swearing and
people with Tourette's are 4 times more likely to die from suicide than the average person. People who think it's fake or crazy. Yeah.
Appropriate ticks. This can include the N-word, slurs, etc. I mean,
like, it's the maximum worst thing you can say in that moment. Like, do you understand? So, like, in a weird way, like, the person is obviously aware that saying that is going to be completely unacceptable, which is low-key part of the reason why it's uncontrollable and he's saying it. So it's like, it's not like a sneak, you know, get away with like being a heinous racist person. You know what I mean? Like, I think because a lot of people approach it as like, understandably, a lot of people approach it, especially a lot of black people approach it as like, oh, here we go. Another Caucasian person at it again. And I totally understand why people think that that's what's going on here, because there are a lot of people who do that. Okay? There are a lot of people who are constantly trying to get away with it, you know? They're playing fast and loose. They're racist and they're expressing their racist tendencies. But this is the one instance where, like, and it's ironic because, like, he literally was there to offer visibility to his disability, right? Like, and I think he, like, left the room after it happened so many times, and it wasn't just the N-word. He was like doing a lot of that, right? So he like literally excused himself from the room because he was like, this is, you know, it was really tough. He once also shouted at the queen when she was supposed to knight him. My friend from high school said, you say what you know you shouldn't because you fear saying it, that you end up saying it because you're so fearful. He sadly took his life 4 to 5 years after high school. Not gonna lie, this is a, what is this? This is a hard thing for me to wrap my head around. Not gonna lie, as a black person, I don't want anyone calling me a slur. Yes, that's why I'm showing you a black person with Tourette's explaining it. So it's a little bit easier to comprehend that it's not like coming from a place of like, it's not coming from a place of like being sinister. It's still unacceptable regardless. You know what I mean? Because at the point of the, if you're on the receiving end, who gives up what the purpose is, right? Like who gives up why you're hearing it? I'm just describing to you that it's still an involuntary process.
Person, and even I have the N-word tick. And
for the record, I don't think it's ableist for people to be like, well, why didn't he apologize? Like, just because it's involuntary doesn't mean you can't still be, it still can't lead to a harmful, it still can't lead to harm. Like what? Do we even know he hadn't apologized? What are you talking about? Like, it's just like, it's a very, I don't know if he did or if he didn't. I'd be shocked if he didn't, but like, oh, he did apologize. Okay, yeah. Tourette's activist John Davidson says he's deeply mortified if anyone considers my involuntary tics to be intentional or to carry any meaning, and he chose to leave the ceremony early. Tourette's activist John Davidson, who inadvertently shouted the N-word during the BAFTA Film Awards on Sunday night, has released a statement after widespread backlash. Davidson, who first appeared... All right, we'll look at that in a second. Bro, can you let her explain her perspective without pausing her mid-take? It's hella rude. Man, shut the fuck up.
Slurs as ticks. This is something I don't see many talk about because of situations like this. Dang. Shut up! That it happened in public in front of that entire crowd, specifically to Michael B. Jordan and the other presenter. I'm so sorry, I do not know his name. I wish I did, but no disrespect to him. I just am not too aware. Yes, it is a very unfortunate situation. Seeing so many people say that they would invoke violence against people with coprolalia if they can't control their tics. That's ableism. The fucked up thing that this happens, yes, but it's something that we can't control. Aggression in the brain being triggered, shut up, and ultimately causing inappropriate tics. Michael B. Jordan and the other presenter have the right to be upset, especially if they were not aware. However, we need to understand and educate ourselves. And on my videos, I constantly see people saying, oh my god, so funny, if I had cursing tics, I would be laughing all the time. But when people actually have cursing tics, then it's offensive and they're a bad person and this and that, the third. We need to do better. We need to educate ourselves better. This is not me saying that people don't have the right to be offended. However, you can't be offended when a disabled person is disabled. I might make a part 2 to this. There's a lot that I need to say. This is part 2 to my last post about the entire BAFTA situation. I am seeing a ton of people saying, oh my god, during Black History Month, Tourette syndrome is not based on a month. Offensive tics are going to happen no matter what.
Apologize for a disability, please. No, I think it's no. That's unacceptable. Listen. We live in a society, okay? And I think it's important for someone to be like, this is my disability. It's real. It's not, you know, I didn't seek to offend you. But it's also good to communicate that. What are you talking about? Like, that's not, no, that's a part of like, you know, being a social animal. There's a part of like having a normal social experience. Like, I don't know how else to explain it.
Shut up, a person.
Like, there are plenty of different disabilities. Like, it's not.
I also have the N-word as a tic. I have other slurs as tics. Does this mean that I use them regularly? Does this mean that I mean them? Does this mean that I can control what I say? No, it does not. That's not how coprolalia works. That is not how Tourette syndrome works. Quite literally the Sweet Anita situation all over again. Shut up. Where she ended up saying the N-word on stream. She got canceled for it, got called racist, etc. We need to do better. I've seen so many people say, that we can control.
You wouldn't ask someone with Alzheimer's to apologize for forgetting something? Because at that point, depending on which level of Alzheimer's they're on, it's gone. You know what I mean? A better example of this would be like something that your disability is brought about. That is like, this is a social issue, right? This is a social issue in this circumstance. Like, there is like, forgetting something doesn't have the same impact of dehumanizing a black person in public, dude. I know that it's not deliberate. I know that it's not on purpose, but like the impact of that is far more consequential than forgetting something when your grandpa has Alzheimer's and you forgot something. The fuck are you talking about? Like, you know, I also don't understand why you guys are saying this kind of stuff. Like, now you're making me think you're just saying it specifically because like people should be able to say it, you know? Yeah, if you have IBS, you can fart and you can apologize for farting. You don't go, I have IBS, fuck you. like what do you mean? It's not ableist to be like, you know, oh, that I didn't know what was going on, but it still made me feel some type of fucking way, you know? Hello? That's why the discourse is discoursing. They be saying wild shit like that. Kanye should have to apologize, or you saying Kanye shouldn't have to apologize? He's bipolar. Does that chatter think Kanye shouldn't apologize because he's bipolar? Yeah, that's the other side of the story as well, which is like, you know, like there is, and with Kanye, there's also other components involved in it. It's like the frequency of what he did. It wasn't like a one-off, right? So even then, it's not like a full-blown 100% one-to-one comparison.
Are ticks, that's not, if you can control a tick, it's not a tick. Let me explain what a tick is in detail. Shut up, bitch. A tick is when your neurons misfire. You think that you can seriously fucking control a neuron misfiring. I've never seen a human possibly do that. We have got to stop thinking with our feelings and start thinking with logic. It is okay to be offended. Shut up. But what it is not okay to do is be ableist and try to make it seem like people with Tourette's, specifically those with Coprolalia, say they're tics on purpose. My whole think piece on this, if you are offended, I do deeply apologize, but I'm just being logical here. I see a lot of people giving their think pieces, and they are specifically talking about racism when tics don't correlate with racism. But that's not what causes offensive or obscene tics. What causes those kinds of tics are Coprolalia. Coprolalia, shut up, is completely involuntary and does not involve your vocabulary.
Okay, but where does it stop? The BAFTAs gave multiple disclaimers. Does he have to apologize after every tic? Look at the woman in his video. If she was saying a slur or something offensive, should she have to apologize 5,000 times a day? At what point is it just dehumanizing to literally every single person involved? Both the people uncontrollably saying something offensive or hateful and the person on the receiving end? I mean, that's why I said they should have just like edited that shit out. 100%. I don't know why you have to go to, oh God, this is the debate lord mentality. This is why is it that every person that gets hyper, and oftentimes this is a little, I'm just going to say it, is a little neurospicy, okay? It's a little neurodivergent to just like remove the normal social function of existing in a society with other people to present a hyper isolated and incredibly exaggerated version of events in an effort to basically draw out a situation where it's like, well, this guy's you know, he's Mr. N-word. He just can't stop saying it. What if he's just like saying it a million times over? Okay, saying it a million fucking times over. Like, when does it get out of hand? It's not even like every single tick. It's just that one instance. He did say it 3 times. Yeah, that's true. He also said it in different moments too. The racism conversation is important though, but not for John, for the BBC choosing to air it. Yeah, I think the BBC should not have aired that at all. Like, I'm understanding of the involuntary aspect of it. I'm not saying he was like doing it for sinister purpose or anything like that. But while a disability is inadvertent and out of your control, the impact of that, especially the social impact of that, is still very much within your it's very much up to you to like offer some kind of explanation for it if you choose to do so. Because like, wouldn't you want to make sure that people know that you're not racist? I've spent the last 12 hours watching people defend slurs and say I should be cordoned off from society forever and face violence. It sucks. Okay, but you say you're both black and disabled. Like, in this situation, I'm trying to offer a nuanced perspective. Like, what about my commentary that has been? What about my commentary that you do not agree with? They should know he has a disability. This is fucking stupid Hasan. He doesn't need to apologize. I don't understand why. Like, guys, it's up to the individual, okay? But there is like it's up to the individual, okay? But like, wouldn't you want to let the other person know that it is outside? You're not like trying to harm them. You're making it seem like people don't apologize at all. You're taking away autonomy from this individual. Okay? I'm saying that in this circumstance, being like, hey, this is completely out of my control. I'm so sorry that I'm horrified that you thought I was being racist to you, I think is the appropriate measure to take. And he said something along those lines regardless. Now, obviously, people don't think it's enough. People don't think it's sufficient. Tourette's activist John Davidson, who inadvertently shouted the N-word during the BAFTA Film Awards on Sunday night, has released a statement after widespread backlash. Davidson, who first began experiencing tics at the age of 12, made a number of outbursts during the first half of the ceremony, including shouting, "Shut the fuck up," during BAFTA chair Sarah Putt's opening remarks. When Michael B. Jordan and Delroy Lindo took to the stage to present the Best Visual Effects Award to Avatar Fire and Ash, he was heard shouting the N-word. "I want to thank BAFTA and everyone involved in the awards last night for their support and understanding and inviting me to attend the broadcast," Davidson said in a statement. Here, we'll watch the video first because, like, I don't know if you guys have seen it or not. Where the fuck is it? Isn't it here somewhere? Oh, here it is.
Delroy and I are delighted to be presenting the first BAFTA of the night for a vital part of movie making. We're here to celebrate.
And yeah, the Delroy Lindo is like, I mean, he was like, what the fuck, right? And they just kept it pushing, right? They just kept it pushing. They're professionals. They're pros. Sometimes you do something wrong, even if you don't mean to, you still apologize. Have these don't apologize shadows ever thought about the impact of their actions? Don't hate on this dude, and it's good that he apologized. Yeah, he would be apologizing his whole life. Though this is a larger broadcast issue, it's something people with Tourette struggle with, apologizing and having to explain their condition instead of getting to just exist. I mean, there are differences, okay? There are certain instances where, like, there's no apology that's warranted or necessary at all. You weigh it on an individual basis. Like, what are we talking about? Why are people acting like context doesn't fucking matter? Because it's the internet. That's why. Okay, that's the reason, right? It's because it's the fucking internet. That's got to be it. No one is saying you got to be like constantly on. You got to constantly be like, I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry for every other thing that you're saying. But this is like a high profile incident, you know. So that is like separate from having a disability, and more so about, you know, working in a being a part of a social setting. Because he's not just like cursing, you know what I mean? He's saying a slur, the maximum slur. It's the right thing to do for him to apologize, but I don't think people should expect an apology beyond, "I'm horrified that this happened and I apologize if people were offended," when it's literally outside of any intention or control. And I think that kind of broad apology is sufficient. Yeah, no, I agree as well, but we're white, so I'm white. So I know that when I say that, people are going to be like, "Oh, you're just saying that because you're a white baby." You know? So he said, "I wanted to thank BAFTA and everyone involved in the awards last night for their support and understanding and inviting me to attend the broadcast," Davidson said in a statement. "I appreciate the announcement to the auditorium in advance of the recording, warning everyone that my takes are involuntary and are not a reflection of my personal beliefs. I was heartened by the round of applause that followed this announcement and felt welcomed and understood in an environment that would normally be impossible for me." Host Alan Cumming twice interrupted the BAFTA Film Awards proceedings to address Davidson's outbursts and wants to thank the audience, which include William and Kate and the Prince and the Princess of Wales, for their understanding, and the second time apologize if you are offended tonight. Davidson added, "In addition to the announcement by Alan Cumming, the BBC, and BAFTA, I can only add that I am and always have been deeply mortified if anyone considers my involuntary takes to be intentional or to carry any meaning." He concluded the statement by saying, "I swear, more than any film or TV documentary explains the origins, conditions, traits, and manifestations of Tourette's syndrome. I've spent my life trying to support and empower the Tourette's community and to teach empathy, kindness, and understanding from others, and I will continue to do so," Davidson said. I chose to leave the auditorium early into the ceremony as I was aware of the distress my tics were causing. In I Swear, Lord of the Rings of Power star Robert Aramayo plays Davidson as he's diagnosed with a syndrome. Aramayo beat out Hollywood stars including Leo DiCaprio and Ethan Hawke to take home the leading man statue for his performance. The film, which was nominated in 5 categories, also won an award for casting. Did bro plug his project? Dog, the reason why he's there is because of the movie. What is wrong with you? Calm down. You have, in your mind, you think like, oh, he has a sinister purpose. Yeah, the sinister purpose is what? Broad awareness for his fucking disability. Hello? What the fuck? The person who called Michael B. Jordan and Delroy Lindo the N-word had no control over their actions, but neither did either of them, and having to endure being called it publicly amongst their peers. What about a moment of understanding for them as well? Yeah, this is the other side of this, obviously. Like, I'm not even saying, like, Michael B. Jordan needs to fucking suck it up or something. And I think some people are saying that. That's a little crazy, you know? That's just a little crazy. Like, come on now. What the fuck? Like, that's insane. That, like, of course he's not supposed to just suck it up. All right? And it's not ableist. It's not fucking ableist to be understanding of 2 black men who are on stage getting fucking humiliated and dehumanized in real time. Okay? What the fuck? That's crazy. You're being crazy. You're out of your fucking mind if you think that that is like a normal situation at all. Of course it's not a normal situation. It's not. Delroy Lindo wishes someone from BAFTA spoke to us after the N-word was shouted at he and Michael B. Jordan were presenting. Lindo told Vanity Fair that we did what we had to do in that moment when the racial slur was said by John Davidson, who is diagnosed with Tourette syndrome and attended the BAFTA Film Awards as a subject of the nominated biopic, I Swear. Sources told Variety after the ceremony the floor managers informed guests and attendees sitting around Davidson of his condition. According to multiple sources, none of the nominees or attendees were contacted by BAFTA or BBC ahead of the show to notify them. That's wild, too. Like, I don't understand why the same sympathies aren't being given to Michael and Delroy. What do you mean you don't understand? It's because they're black, okay? We live in a white supremacist society. Of course people are, literally looking at that and going, oh, it's just some bad words. Why don't you just take it on the chin? It's just some bad words. It is a manifestation of white supremacist attitude where, a lot of people who are blind to the impact of anti-black racism are basically expressing that same anti-blackness in the discourse by leaning into a situation where they feel like this is a totally appropriate moment to say, shut the fuck up, you can't feel some type of way about this as a black person. That's what it is, okay? That's what it is. And some people are just unaware of their, unaware of their blind spot here, okay? They're unaware of their blind spot. They don't even realize. They think that they're being accommodating. They think that they're being nice. They think that they're being positive about it without recognizing that this is also reinforcing the same anger and resentment that black people feel because this is a experience that even born out of a disability, even when it's inadvertent, is still going to be traumatic, okay? And you can't comprehend that if you don't understand the impact of white supremacy. If you can't even empathize with growing up as a black person in a white society, in a majority white society, you're just never going to be able to understand it. You're only going to think, oh, it's just a mean word. It's just a silly word. Why do you care so much? Oh, black people use it too. Like, this is reinforced in every aspect of our existence, okay? It's reinforced in every aspect of our existence. So I am, so fucking woke that I also am understanding of the role that social conditioning plays in teaching a lot of non-black people and even some black people, as a matter of fact, that like you're just supposed to take it on the fucking chin, and you can't say anything about it. An issue I have is the centering of John and the removal of the harm MBJ and Delroy in the situation when they're fully victims here too. There's a lot of oh poor baby going on, and I think John's getting a lot of undue hate, but this mirrors a lot of what we see in society about how black people are expected to suck up slur usage in all different regards. Exactly. Like, both parties could have been wronged in this situation. You know what I mean? Like, that's it. You're kind of telling the disabled person to do the same, though. Take it on the chin and apologize for how you were born. Oh. There is a social function of living in, there's a social price of living in fucking society. And it is obviously up to the individual to do the, to do their due diligence if they choose to do so. But it's fucking crazy to just be like, there's like, I'm not saying he needs to like constantly be on the fucking defensive, running around and being like, I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry. But there are certain things that even if they are inadvertent are going to cause harm. Do you not want to fucking address it? Hello? Yeah, if someone accidentally hits you due to a tick, they would, I'm sure, apologize for accidentally hitting you. So I don't know why the confusion and apologies being okay. Honestly, I think it's because it touches on the subject of disability discourse, where it's like you're not supposed to fucking apologize for every little thing that's outside of your control. And when I say be normal, for example, that's like an inherently ableist fucking take. Like, what is normal? Why are disabled people supposed to be invisible or expected to like to hide their disability all the time? And like the additional burden of having to live with a disability, especially one that is a social one like this, is like it causes people to get frustrated about that. Anyway, there's a difference between apologizing for a disability and apologizing for the effects it has on others. I'm a wheelchair user. If I run someone's foot over, I'd apologize, even though it's much harder for me to navigate small spaces. Exactly. Yeah. What is this? What kind of specific type of individual is that? Isn't it strange to say that a person should be okay with being called a slur and receive no apology for it, even if they understand the context? Makes no sense to ask for grace while dismissing people hurt and embarrassed. It takes a specific type of individual to get offended by a product of an involuntary tick, which content the person swearing specifically fears, dislikes, deems as inappropriate. So yes. What is this? It's okay to apologize. Sweet Anita does it all the time. Sometimes even before the tick happens. Ignorant chatters have no idea. Yeah. Would you not agree? Just be normal applies to Davidson and his disability? No. When I say just be normal, it applies to me saying be normal about like a person with tics and not be like a fucking weirdo about it. But that also doesn't mean that like in order to exist in a normal social function, even if you inadvertently caused harm to someone, that you shouldn't fucking apologize for it. That's my point. Okay. Anyway, this is the perfectly crafted woke trolley problem, pitting the social model of disability against centering BIPOC voices and concerns. This is something the FBI would concoct in a Quantico laboratory. Oh, for sure. 100%. It is a perfect woke trolley problem. Straight up. LSAT. It's like an LSAT question. It's designed like an LSAT question, but for woke. It's crazy. But like I said, there's also black disabled people that exist. If chatters expect an apology for microaggressions in this situation, should be no different. Yeah, I mean, I'm much more, you know my opinions on that, right? I think there's also like, guys, my point is there's also an expectation, like hopefully a mutual understanding of like the function of social conditioning, right? The role that social conditioning plays in developing blind spots of privilege for every single individual in society. So when you're trying to like have a normal conversation with a person and they say something, right, and it rubs you the wrong way, like you don't always have to address it. I certainly don't. There's a lot of shit that people say about, Muslims or being from Turkey or whatever the fuck in normal conversations, and you just learn to eat it sometimes, okay? But it's not for every single thing. If someone were to be like, you're a fucking terrorist, that's different, right? The M word is the mother of all bombs, okay? Of all slur bombs, okay? It's like the peak. It's the maximum one. So it is situational. It is contextual. And I think, ironically enough, it's never situational or contextual when it comes to the internet. But also, here's a little bit of irony. John Davidson did an interview with Big John about his tick throwing out the N-word and how people interpret him as being racist.
Sometimes my ticks, I'll shout the N-word.
Yeah, that can get you in trouble.
People misunderstand that and they see it as being racist.
Yeah.
And that's one thing I ain't racist.
You just can't control what's coming out of your...
Can't control.
It also doesn't help that like they kind of look this way. You know what I mean? I mean, they Big John Bosch, he's tough. He's woke. He's my woke king. I believe this man. But it's hard to not. It's hard to assume that a man that looks like this is just dropping the N-word with a hard R, and then, you know, people are like, you know what I mean? It's not his fault that he looks like a thumb, okay?
So what is supposed to not be said, type thing, you know?
I don't know. I'm not down with lock them away discourse. Lock them away? What the fuck are you talking about? What are people just being like cordon them off? That's crazy. What the fuck? What? Wait, is that the Bosch dude with the elite restaurant order? Yeah, Bosch. Anyway, there's people in the chat believe you shouldn't be able to attend events. That's crazy. They were like, oh, if you have Tourette's, you should go to a camp where you are concentrated. I like that every part. This is like the Hitlerian horseshoe, where on the one hand, people are like, well, you know, black people, they should be in a concentration camp. And then on the other hand, people are like, you know, disabled people, they should be in a concentration camp. And the synthesis of that is Adolf Hitler, who thought the same about both of these groups. You know what I mean? I like that. I like that that's like the current discourse when it reaches its like maximum, its maximalist conclusion is just like, well, someone's got to go to a concentration camp. You know what I mean? What are we doing? Like, are we not putting anybody in the camps? Like, what's happening here? That's why the only real opinion is that this is a CIA operation. I mean, I don't think this is a CIA operation. I think it happened so perfectly. Inventing segregation out of first principles. Calling black men the N-word is racism. If John was has Coprolalia and can't control the slurs, he says he should watch from a separate area. Sometimes I consider swapping sides and becoming a Hasan clipper because you make it so easy for them. That's crazy. Yeah, you know, separate but equal. That's wild. Oh. Oh my God. Okay. Check how many likes the original post has, bro. It's just 3.9K. That's not that good. Yeah, but for real, this is why whiteys need to confront not just white supremacy, but our universal supremacist worldview. Yeah, I mean, everyone's got that, not to use a trot sentiment here, but this was probably one of his best inventions. Everyone has a little bit of Hitler particles. Like, that's just how it is. Everyone's got a little bit of that in them, and it just like kind of comes out when you can't when you can't comprehend like things like this are happening inadvertently. And you know, when we get to that point and we decide like, yeah, we should cordon off certain segments of society, all of a sudden you're kind of broaching that territory, which is crazy. Honestly though, if flying your freak flag is the best way to fight fascism in classroom, then maybe it's good BBC aired it so people just talk it out. No, because it adds insult. It literally makes the insult worse. Like, it makes the humiliation worse. Because, like, it makes the humiliation for both parties worse, if that makes sense. It's like the absolute worst fucking thing. Do you hate on this poor dude with Tourette saying something racist? Okay, calm down, dude. Come on. I'm over here talking about, like, disability advocacy, and you just did the absolute worst thing. This is like that. Are you my op? Like, really? You want Ethan to farm this shit? Come on now. Like, I'm trying to have a productive conversation that I'm trying to have a productive conversation that basically focuses on all of the communities that are impacted here. And you just, you know, you want to farm a fucking quick, funny moment. It's craziness. All right. Don't be a drama pervert. All right. Here's what they were able to, I guess, silence a little bit at the BAFTA. Bush! Fuck you know!
For pouring into our film and supporting this with all your heart and soul. And lastly, to all those whose parents migrated to obtain a better life for their children, to the economic migrant, the conflict migrant, those under occupation, dictatorship, persecution, and those experiencing genocide, you matter, your stories matter more than ever. Your dreams are an act of resistance. To those watching at home, archive your loved ones, archive your stories, yesterday, today, and forever. For Nigeria, for London, the Congo, Sudan, free Palestine. Thank you.
So He said that, but they took it out, I guess. Did they take it out of the main video? Is that what it was? They edited the Free Palestine side of it?
Been Britain's big night to celebrate art and culture, with royalty mixing with the Hollywood elite.
Great take. Afrotastic64, as a black person, it absolutely bothers the shit out of me that the BBC was willing to censor Free Palestine, but allowed a slur to pass with a 2-hour delay. That's evidence of the media hierarchy of which groups deserve more protection than others. It makes me question if they did this shit on purpose to foster the discourse. Yeah, so no, that's exactly what I was saying earlier. Like the real racism here is at the systemic level, right? When you have a media institution that doesn't take that out, whether it's a blind side for them, which I think it's impossible for this to be a fucking blind side. Let's be real. Holy shit. But that is the actual moment of racism. The moment of racism isn't coming from the guy with a disability who is like maybe for some sinister purpose saying the N-word with a hard R, which is like what a lot of people were trying to. The real racism is crazy when it's the literal N-word. Yes. I'm saying this sincerely. I'm saying it sincerely. Like, it's not the person who has this specific disability that is actually doing this as a racist act. The racism actually stems from the fact that the BBC didn't cut it out. The racism stems from the fact that the BBC and BAFTA did not even approach the actors after the fact to be like, hey, I'm really sorry that happened. Just so you know, this is a person with a medical condition. Like, it wasn't on purpose, right? Like there was no intervention at any point. The other side of it also comes from the fact that, the expectation as a black person is that you just eat it, right? You just eat it. You can't feel some type of way about it. Okay. It doesn't matter. No matter what point you reach in society, you work hard. This is a white take. Wait, what? How is this a white take? I disagree. He had the N-word in his vocabulary. Do you live on this planet? Do you fucking live on planet Mars, or do you live on this one? Do you speak the English language? Do you think that this person is never going to hear the word? Hello? I'm not saying you shouldn't feel some type of way about it, but you're fucking crazy if you think like, oh, well, I can't believe this guy encountered the N-word at some point in his life and knows that it is a horrible thing to say, and his involuntary tick happens to be saying the maximum bad thing you can say in that moment. It's not a white take at all. The fuck? What, you think every person that has heard the N-word, like every person that has heard the N-word is automatically, they have it in their vocabulary. So every single person has it in their vocabulary. Like, what kind of question is this? What kind of statement is this? Yeah, like when you say it, when I read it, even if I don't say it out loud, I'm still reading it in my mind. I guess I'm being a white supremacist in that moment. Like, what the fuck? Please. What if a black person had it as a tick? These guys would explode thinking about that. No, I already showed you a black person with a black content creator with the same exact tick. She described it. But yeah, the actual anti-blackness, in my opinion, is the expectation that especially a lot of white people have, a lot of non-black people have, and even some black people have this expectation as well, that like black figures are supposed to sit there and take it and not get offended and not and not feel some type of way about hearing this dehumanizing slur that they've heard their whole lives. A slur that isn't just a bad word, by the way. It is a reminder, and I'm not doing this for the black people in my chat, okay? You already know this shit, so just calm down before you fucking yell at me. This is for the white audience and the non-black audience. This isn't just a bad word, okay? It's not just a bad word. The reason why it's not just a bad word is because it is a reminder of the systemic discrimination, the death, destruction, rape, pillage, and for a non-human status for an entire racial group. It is specifically designed to dehumanize black people. And in its modern usage, is not only to remind black people of their racial pecking order, but it's also basically to remind them that like that racial pecking order still exists, that racial hierarchy still exists because a lot of these systemic issues have not been properly fucking addressed. That's the reason why there's a difference between like saying a lot of other different slurs that broach into like inappropriate territory or personally discriminatory territory, but doesn't have that same impact. That's also the reason why nobody bats an eye if you say cracker, and only the silliest people on the internet get offended by it, or they fake get offended by it, right? And say this is anti-white discrimination, as opposed to the N-word, okay? Are you saying black people are a lower tier of human? What the fuck? What? Come on, man. I'm trying to have a fucking serious conversation. Like, do you really feel like this is a good opportunity for you to make jokes like this? Fuck off, okay? Yeah, good rage bait, dude. Good rage bait. Anyway, stop baiting. This is a white ass chat, and the fact that you even have to say this in 2026 is why your black audience is so small. Oh God. Okay, this is the woke version of the rage baiting. Shut up. Shut up. Shut up. Yes, this is a white ass chat. Yes. What do you mean? It's the white ass world. Like, we live in the Western world. It's white. It's white supremacists. What do you want me to fucking do? Not try to educate people to the best of my ability? What the fuck? Stop being obnoxious and annoying. Okay? Especially in the moment where I'm fucking describing it. What the hell?
Instead is mired in controversy this morning, the BBC apologising to BAFTA viewers after several obscene outbursts from Tourette's activist John Davidson were heard on a broadcast. Davidson is the inspiration for the movie I Swear, which was nominated for 6 awards and took home the leading actor BAFTA. He was diagnosed with Tourette's syndrome at the age of 12. It's a neurological condition that can cause involuntary movements and vocal tics, sometimes involving outbursts of inappropriate language. One such outburst heard on the broadcast was while Sinners stars Michael B. Jordan and Delroy Lindo were on stage.
Delroy and I are delighted to be presenting the first BAFTA of the night for a vital part of movie making.
A racial slur could be heard while the men presented the award for Best Visual Effects. Jordan and Lindo looked startled, but continued on. Host Alan Cumming later asking the audience for their understanding.
You may have heard some strong and offensive language tonight. Tourette syndrome is a disability, and the tics you've heard tonight are involuntary, which means the person who has Tourette syndrome has no control over their language. We apologise if you were offended.
So the big question this morning, why did these outbursts remain on the broadcast when other parts of the event were cut, like the words of one award winner who said "Free Palestine," especially when you think that there was a 2-hour delay on this broadcast?
I'm just saying, kind of feels like they got the capacity to chop shit up. I'm just saying, kind of feels like they saw that and were like, keep that shit in. Keep that shit in. That's good. That's good stuff. But other things were not allowed. How interesting. How interesting. Wow. That's what I mean when I say this is the real racist part of the equation, okay? That's crazy. That's fucking crazy. They should have done a role reversal where if someone saying "Free Palestine" should not be edited out because it's not offensive at all, okay? What the fuck? And the N-words should have been edited out of the final broadcast. That's crazy. Do you see the real racism question mark? Yeah, like as in the actual deliberate act of engaging in a white supremacist expression is not the individual inadvertently saying a slur, even though no matter how you say it, it's still very clearly going to have an impact such as that. And therefore, it's totally warranted to feel offended or to feel humiliated in that moment. Having said that, the actual deliberate act or the lack of investment in dealing with this, the lack of interest in dealing with this comes from identifiable white supremacist attitudes. The tick is involuntary. It's such a sad state of affairs. It's like a humiliating incident. The funniest part is this is my take too. Yeah, but chatters are gonna fucking get their licks in no matter what. You know what I mean? It's just how it is. It's fine. As you guys know, I'm the top white supremacist on this platform that Asmongold also exists on. So that's the reason why I'm doing it. Is Black History Month? It happens. Yeah. Yeah, fuck BBC and BAFTA. Yeah, I mean, it's insane. If you consider if you had a higher PSL, it could have been true Adam with a halo effect and avoided the massive social cortisol spike. That is something that I have thought about as well. I like that we're now calling this guy who had like his very worst like nightmare happen in real time in a very public way. Now we're calling him ugly. Okay.
The BBC has this morning issued a statement apologising that Davidson's comments were not edited out ahead of the broadcast, and they say they will now be cut from the online version and on streaming. You've got to feel for Davidson. He must have been very embarrassed by all this. He left the event, it's thought, early, halfway through, it's thought. Guys.
Yeah, the BBC should have caught that.
Should have caught that. And he left on his own. He wasn't asked to leave, but he knew it was best to leave. But you had so much time to edit out those remarks.
And the guys handled it well. The guys on stage kept moving through okay.
The biggest night in the British movie business, broadcast on 2-hour delay. Time enough, in theory, for the broadcaster to edit out any offensive language.
Good evening and welcome to the EE BAFTA Film Awards 2026.
And while some cuts were made, not this. When the stars of Sinners, Michael B. Jordan and Delroy Lindo, came on.
Maybe don't invite the guy who involuntarily shouts out racial slurs. Come on, that's crazy. And Sean the Black is right. He says, I disagree. He has a right to be there. We should strive for accommodation. That's crazy. Come on, dude. Yeah, we should cordon him off. We should cordon the disabled off. We should put him somewhere else. You know? Oh, you can't hear? No accommodations necessary for you if you're deaf. You know? Fuck it. What is happening? Yeah, we should ball gag him. That's nasty, man. That's a nasty fucking approach. How do you not recognize that? That's crazy. What if it was a loved one? What if it was you? Think about it that way. Ironically, the ableism and the anti-black discourse here literally stems from the same fundamental lack of understanding that we have in our hearts. All of us have this. It's you can't see yourself as a black person on the receiving end of the N-word, okay? So you don't get it, and you're like, what the fuck's the big deal? Suck it up, dude. It's just a word. And you also can't see yourself being a disabled person who is going through that, in that moment. So you go, oh, dude, just don't fucking show up, bro. What the fuck? Like, just put him in the utility closet. What the fuck? It's like, god damn, dude. Just be a little bit more open-minded, please, to every single person involved. Adolf would say both sides in this case. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like it's someone's got to go to the camps mentality. You know what I mean? Someone's got to go. I mean, I don't know. We got to put somebody in there. What the fuck? Anyway.
On stage to present the night's first award, the N-word, which we have beeped, was shouted out.
Presenting the first BAFTA of the night for a vital part of movie making. We're here to...
Visibly shocked, they were praised for carrying on. Lindo later telling Vanity Fair he wished someone from BAFTA...
So we said the N-word and we still got to sympathize with him? A little bit. I mean, kind of. Like, you shouldn't be... I'm not saying sympathize with him, I guess, but like... Or I guess I am saying that a little bit, yeah. Like, this is the one time where it's like kind of... I mean, this is the one time where it's not his fault, you know? It's a little bit more complicated than that, right? Like, he's not... It genuinely stems from thinking that he's doing it for some sinister purpose. That's the problem. And I kind of understand why you think that, because you've probably experienced that if you are black. I don't know if you are, because it says Max the Arab here. Maybe you're black and Arab, but like it does come from this experience, this common experience of like white people routinely trying to use any opportunity they can to fucking disparage and undermine black people. If you don't want to sympathize, focus your anger on the system that didn't protect the actors after the fact and that aired it. Exactly. I'm sus how this take gravitated to that word. Oh my God. This is why I spent a good deal of time explaining this is why I spent the first half of the broadcast explaining what this is. You know, he's not. You are speaking from ignorance if you don't understand subconscious thoughts and how someone with Tourette's has to live with everyday worry they might take something bad, in which turn makes it more likely they might do so. Imagine having to live with the fear that you might hurt someone unintentionally and completely out of your control. Yeah, I mean, that's like the whole point of the movie, ironically enough, is how he is literally having to deal with that on a daily basis. Like literally having to deal with that on a fucking daily basis. That's his whole life. And that's what the movie is about. That's why he was in the room. They didn't bring him in the room to be like, haha, this is the guy who will definitely say the N-word. They brought him into the room because he was also being celebrated because there was a movie made about his life called I Swear. That's the reason why he's there. Like, anyway. But once again, just as though I will duke it out with chatters who don't understand why an apology is warranted or why, why these actors felt how they felt, I will also try to explain. I'm not disabled, right? And I'm not black, but I have the capacity to understand to the best of my ability what the lived experience looks like. You know, I'm never going to fully grasp it, but you know, I am sympathetic to both parties involved here.
I'm gay and Lebanese,
if that makes sense. I think people really need to make a clear distinction between disability general and Tourette syndrome and corporal specific and crucial to this conversation. So it's not if you are disabled, you get a pass to say the N-word. Yeah, I mean, obviously not. Black woman take what you do, who you are, and what you have are three different things. What you can / should take responsibility to apologize for is what you do. Love and accept who you are and give yourself grace for what you have. But also, apologies don't take time off your damn life. Forgive yourself so that apologies are easier on you and quicker to deliver with meaning. Don't be obtuse, be curious, blame the BBC. Yeah. But yeah, the person that was saying that wasn't like, you know, sneaking that in is my point, right? Like they're not, it's not within their control. That's kind of the whole thing. I promise you I'm not doing this. I know it's tough for you to come in here and see a white man say this, right? Because you've probably seen many people that look like me constantly go, it's just the word. Why so mad? I'm not doing that, okay? I don't give that any fucking daylight, any time of day whatsoever. I'm simply explaining that this is the one instance where it's quite literally the disability. Like it is the reason for why he said it. Like it's such a wild state of affairs, and I totally understand why it's like tough to comprehend, because you have experienced people who have lied about it or have tried to find reasoning for or justifications for why it's appropriate to say it. And while it's always inappropriate, this is the one instance where it's like contextually, while still inappropriate, is not malicious.
Had spoken to them afterwards. The slur was shouted by John Davidson, seen here on the right, a campaigner who has Tourette's. It's a condition characterized.
You should get someone knowledgeable on the disability on. People are being really ignorant about it. I did. I already had in the beginning. I started this conversation by showing you a black content creator who has this specific disability, who gave her thoughts on it.
By sudden and involuntary tics, which can include socially unacceptable words and swearing.
Hello.
He was at the BAFTAs after his life story inspired the film I Swear.
I was blown away. I did not imagine anybody could pretend to have Tourette's as an actor.
Robert Aramayo from I Swear.
It led to a dramatic and surprise win for its star, Robert Aramayo, for Best Actor, who appealed for understanding about the condition.
Tonight, especially, I just want to say that for people living with Tourette's, it's us around them that help define what their experience is. So, to quote the film, they need support and understanding. Thank you so much for this. It means the world to me. I can't believe that.
But whilst there has been much support and understanding for John Davidson, many still have questions for the BBC.
We understand that it's involuntary, and actually this is a great learning moment for the Tourette's community and learning more.
Guys, the BBC used all of their editing juice on editing out Free Palestine. Sorry. We had all of our editors working around the clock from Tel Aviv, making sure that no one said anything remotely bad about the genocidal state that is known for having an apartheid. We just could not have a moment wasted. So apologies for everyone involved. We just had one edit that we could do, and we wasted it on the other black artist who was talking about his experience on stage, coming from an immigrant background, for example, where he, likened that shared mutual understanding of fighting against colonial violence to saying free Palestine. We had to use all of the editing juices on that. Okay, we were working tirelessly to make sure that there was not a single moment that people heard the words free and Palestine next to one another. So we just didn't have any editing juices left to fucking edit the N-words that were slung.
Like I said, two things can be true at the same time. We can still be offended by what happened, and we can still feel unprotected if you don't do anything to censor it.
So you feel the BBC was too slow to react because the programme wasn't edited and it stayed?
They weren't too slow to react. They deliberately did not react because they have the capability of reacting. They reacted. They reacted on the Free Palestine statement. They straight up were like either going, who cares? This is not that bad. Or, which again is still an expression of white supremacist value systems, right? Because when you hear that and you don't think, oh, we should cut this out immediately, this is like very fucked up, you are still inadvertently continuing the same white supremacist systems and constructs. However, there's also a even more cynical approach, which is, oh, this is good content. I don't know if they went with in either direction. It's still the same. It still comes from the same, it still comes from the same place of lack of care for black people. But I think, fuck it. Maybe they did it on purpose. I'm in the camp. They did it to humiliate the black actors, but I'm cynical, so I don't know. Yeah, I think they wanted the content. They were like, oh, this will be great for the fucking discourse, yeah. Fucking hell. Yeah.
On the iPlayer for some 12 or so
I gotta pee. I got Joe Willie in it. I got a fucking wee, lads.
Community, would that have been edited out? If it was a swear word that he had shouted out, would that have been edited out? I think it would have.
Camilla Davis Jr. and Wally Davis.
In fact, other remarks were edited out from the BAFTAs. When filmmakers Wally Davis and Akinola Davis Jr. won the award for Outstanding British Debut, these words about Palestine were cut from the broadcast.
For Nigeria, for London, the Congo, Sudan, free Palestine, thank you.
The BBC didn't respond to our specific questions, but gave us this statement. Some viewers may have heard strong and offensive language during the BAFTA Film Awards. This arose from involuntary verbal tics associated with Tourette syndrome. And as explained during the ceremony, it wasn't intentional. We apologise that this wasn't edited out prior to broadcast, and it will now be removed from the version on BBC iPlayer. John Davidson said this evening, I've spent my life trying to support and empower the Tourette's community. I'm deeply mortified if anyone considers my involuntary tics to be intentional.